5:30 p.m. A roll call, please, ma'am.
Mr. Redford?
Here.
Mr. Cooper?
Here.
Mr. Colvin?
Here.
Jeff, can you help us with that?
Somebody join the meeting.
One of us was on it.
What? Brian, my wife.
You're on.
Good. Can I?
Is this come on now. Jump to the
That help?
Test. That's it.
You got it.
Thank you, guys. Could I have a motion to continue the consideration of the minutes of June 6, 2022 for our next meeting in July?
So moved.
Second. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. First on our agenda tonight, then, we'll go to Elizabeth Paul, 555 Coronado Place. Ms. Paul, are you here in person or online?
I am online.
Okay, good afternoon.
Hi there.
We have a memo from our staff in front of us about your fence encroachment request. Tell us what you'd like to do, please.
I would like to put a 4-foot fence in my new backyard in order to keep my 89-pound golden retriever near the house. This is a brand new house to me, and I will be encroaching, I believe it's on 25 feet of the easement that runs on the east side of my property.
Ms. Hall, we have this memo that we have dated June 15, 2022. Have you seen it?
I just read it this afternoon.
Okay, there are 3 conditions that our staff is recommending that we consider. Do you have any problems with any of those conditions?
No, sir.
Mr. Hoover?
Yes.
I'd just like to know for the record that this property is located in section 2 of the retreat, not section 1 as indicated in our memo. This is a small revision.
Doesn't change any of the recommendations.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Okay. Questions for Ms. Hall? None. Is there a motion for consideration on this matter?
So moved. Second.
And that's subject to those 3 conditions.
Yes.
Yes. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Hall.
Thank you very, very much.
Next, Tim Sheets, homeowner for 898 Grandiflora Drive.
Yes, sir.
Join us at the podium there. You've also got a fence encroachment request. Tell us what you'd like to do.
Yes, sir. Also like to put a 4-foot chain link fence on the back yard of my property. It's not even close to the whole backyard, it's just partial.
Okay. Like I asked Ms. Hall, we have a memo in front of us with some conditions. Have you received a memo from one of our staff members?
I have, yes, sir.
And you see the 3 conditions at the bottom of that memo?
Yes.
Do you have any problems with any of those?
I don't.
Okay. Questions for Mr. Sheets?
I would move that we approve the request subject to those conditions.
Second. Further discussions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thanks.
Well, I have a question.
Sure.
What do I have to do now? Do I have to wait on some kind of paperwork that says I can do this?
You will have minutes of this meeting will have that approval in them, and How long typically or before it won't be
It won't be
officially
accepted
until July
sixth,
6th?
but we'll have draft minutes by the end of this week.
Okay.
Then I can get your email, which I sent you email for the agenda. I can send you draft minutes.
Okay.
And I'll give you the.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, we're gonna move to a similar fence encroachment request for 2665 Cormorant Drive, Preserve South Lake. Rombek?
Yes.
Good.
Hello, everyone.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Tell us what you'd like to do.
Sure. So I'm putting the 4-foot fence, white vinyl, in the backyard, to just make sure my kids can play freely because of the pond in the backside. So just requesting approval for putting the fence on the backside.
Like with the previous applicants, we've got a memo in front of us with some conditions. Have you seen that memo?
Yes, sir. I did it.
Okay.
I received the email.
There are 4 conditions there. A couple of them I just want to make certain. Well, first of all, do you have any problems with any of those?
No, not right now. No,
Okay.
I'm good.
I just want to highlight that if there is any work that needs to be done within that easement by any of the utilities or by the city, that your fence can be taken down at your expense without any liability to the city. You understand that, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then Mark, there's one about no closer than 5 feet from the existing storm sewer.
Yes, yeah, as proposed from what I'm seeing on these plans, he's not proposing to set a fence post across the storm sewer, but if he needs to cross that storm sewer, he gets to stay 5 feet away from it, right in the post into the ground.
Okay. And you understand that?
Yes. Yes, sir. Yep.
Mr. Hoover, again, on this one, we have a 10-foot drainage utility and sanitary easement in our memo. That should read a 10-foot drainage utility and sewer easement, just to clean that up for the record. But again, it doesn't affect any of our recommendations or anything.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
I'd move for approval of those 4 conditions. I'll second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Next, let's move to Mark Wiley, Redeemer Bible Church.
Yes.
Good evening.
Hello.
What are we doing here this evening?
So we just recently completed inspection, and we're looking for the release of 3 performance guarantees, and we've issued 1 additional maintenance guarantee.
Mark, anything out of the ordinary on these?
No, sir.
There's a motion. Anybody wish to make that motion to acknowledge completion of the private improvements and release of performance guarantees and accept the maintenance guarantee?
I'll move for approval. I'll second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does the release of the performance guarantees, is that documented to the minutes? Is that
Yeah, well, Mark, we'll have the actual release document.
We should.
That'll be
Yes.
signed.
Yes, I'm not seeing it here. Was that something you provided to our offices, or is that something we're filling?
Yes, I provided the updated maintenance guarantee, but I know my financial organization was just asking how do they know that the other performance guarantees are released, so.
There should be a place on the,
Yes.
and if you guys could check with Mark's office
Sure.
next day or two, he'll be sure to get you.
I can email Paul or, okay, perfect, thank you.
Thanks. Next, let's go to Mark Meadows, Sandstone Apartments Phase 2.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, I'm Mark Meadows from Life Management. We're here for acceptance of the performance guarantees.
Mark, anything out of the ordinary here? It's pretty straightforward from what we've got.
Yep, nothing out of the ordinary.
Well, I'll move that we accept the performance guarantees for Sandstone Apartments Phase 2.
I'll second.
If you'd like to second my motion.
Want to just sweat for a little bit?
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. How about Aaron Carew, Scottsdale Estates, Section 1? Aaron, are
Yes,
you
sir. I'm
online? Okay. Good evening, good afternoon still.
Good evening. And I'm here on behalf of Arbor Homes. We have a development, our Scottsdale Estates development, and along Honey Creek Road. One of the city's requests was that we get an easement from the property owners along Honey Creek Road in order to extend a trail that is laid out in the future land use plan.
I think that we have that document's been prepared.
Yes, we do. It's been prepared and reviewed by engineering and legal, and everything appears to be in order on it.
Okay. Pleasure of the board.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, thanks, Aaron.
Thank you all.
Eric Carter, Speedway Fuel Center.
Yes, sir.
With us online?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us what we're doing.
Speedway has completed construction at their new Speedway there on Main Street. And we're here to release the performance guarantees and acceptance of maintenance guarantees. I know there's one condition to modify one of the streets guarantees, and we will be doing that. So.
Correct. It was the.
Yes, yeah, it's a sidewalk on the top instead of street, so that just needs to be changed. So that's just a condition of the approval.
Okay.
We agree to that condition.
Okay. Questions for Mr. Carter? None, is there a motion?
I'll move for approval with that condition.
I'll second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Thanks, Mr. Carter. Next, let's move to Derek Snyder, Crossroad Engineer. Schwartz Crossing.
Mr. Hoover, before Derek gets started here, I'd just like to remind the board that this was presented back in May, a similar request. You previously denied this request for full closure of Stones Crossing. Crossroads and the developer came back to me. They thought that construction would be best with the full closure of this roadway and the way they're phasing work. I outlined 3 primary concerns that I saw the board had. The first was the proposed length of time of the closure. The second was access to Bay Horse Inn was proposed to be maintained via a private street system. And the final concern was that the closure of Stones Crossing would remove secondary emergency access point for Copper Space Apartments. I advised them to address those concerns before we brought it back to the board, and I feel that they've addressed them enough that it's appropriate to present before you bend tonight and make a modified request.
Okay.
If I may add some updated
Sure.
data or some sheets to hand out. I don't know if those made it out digitally to the board. I have copies on flash drive.
We haven't seen it.
No, we did not.
This was all came together very quickly today at the end of last week. So actually, if I may, just to expand on Mr. St. John's statements there, we've also included with this request an additional request for a waiver to allow the use of cement powder in lieu of cement slurry. The original packet that we submitted, I apologize, it wasn't submitted with the initial request that came before the board. It was submitted with this meeting, but per the contractors that are working on this project, and what we're also hearing on both our design and construction inspection sides of our business, what we're hearing is that cement slurry will not be available essentially for the remainder of 2022. The contractors have reached out to 2 or 3 of the largest suppliers, one of which was Shelby Materials, that provided a letter that's included on the first page of that packet that indicates their desire to focus on providing plastic concrete materials instead of focusing their material usage on cement slurry. So we encountered an issue where it's not believed that cement slurry is going to be available for subgrade stabilization, which was
what's the consequences of that?
My understanding of it is that they won't accept those purchase orders.
But from our standpoint, is it
Difference
in material, difference in?
So the board back in 2017, you all adopted a standard or requirement to use cement slurry in lieu of cement dust or other means of chemical modification. Your reasoning for that was dust control. The city inspectors had difficulty controlling contractors when to stop due to high wind conditions. Once they got started, they didn't want to stop. We felt it resulted in a better finished product overall, less equipment needed to install. Concerns with environmental issues because of the fine particles. The city is using cement slurry on all of our projects, that they'll be used on our projects. Then you had OSHA concerns, pending requirement sometime in 2018 to possibly require all workers in the immediate area of line stabilized material to wear respirators. So again, that goes back to that fine particle concerns. So you all at that time had adopted for cement slurry. Our standards allow for a full stone cross section. And so there is the option to not use any chemical modification. If they use chemical modification, they can reduce that stone cross section. So if we don't permit them to use cement dust, they would have to construct a roadway with a full stone cross section, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so, and just to kind of follow up on that, that full stone section is a two additional inches of stone. So I know one of the concerns that's been expressed to us by a couple of contractors is difficulties in getting a passing proof roll on untreated subgrade because the stone that Mr. St. John is alluding to is not subgrade treatment. That's just a base stone for the pavement. So they still, even if they don't treat it, even if they increase the depth of that stone, they still have to get a passing proof roll on that subgrade. And so as consultants to developers, we've taken kind of the initiative to start specifying chemically modified subgrade in Greenwood to ensure that developers don't encounter these large change orders and difficulties with scheduling and like during construction, because really until you get out there and start the work, you don't know what kind of conditions you have. It can always be removed and the stone can be increased if you have good soil conditions, but a lot of times it's hard to pinpoint if that's going to be an exact condition in the field. So to try to be proactive and ensure that these issues don't come up during construction, you can take it including it in the design. Unfortunately, the current market is kind of forcing our hand to reconsider that, and it's already in the budget to do. And we feel like cement stabilizer, really any chemically modified subgrade, provides a much better product for these public and private streets. And we would have no problem. Obviously we do a lot of design and construction inspection on City of Greenwood projects, and if presented with this option as either designers or inspectors, we would have no problems making a recommendation to approve the use of cement powder on a case-by-case basis, given the current market. The developer, in this case, is committed to having a water tanker truck on site to help control that dust to be able to use that as an option.
Yeah, that was one of the questions I wanted to ask. The reasons we had switched from powder to slurry requirement was because of the wind and the dust. So the water truck tank will assist in that.
Yes,
I presume.
Yep.
How about the recommendation to use that if it's under high wind conditions? Is that somebody from the city is going to be having some control?
Yes, I would ask that Crossroads, the developer, of course, keep us apprised when you're out there chemically modifying the soil so we can be present. And then like my understanding in the past is that work does not stop. The city inspectors have asked work to stop, so they have to work with our inspectors. If you're on site, high winds kick up to stop. I mean, obviously finish what you're doing, but not continue on or do more work if it's not present conditions.
Yeah, I think given the conditions, given the options, I think that's a commitment we can agree to. We'll reiterate to the contractor that they need to be mindful of. Obviously, they're always going to be looking at weather conditions anyway, typically from precipitation, but make sure that they're aware that needs to be factored in terms of wind for the day.
Well, I think if we taking that just the mixture issue as a separate issue, that would be a commitment that I think we'd want to put in there, not just. I'm not trying to twist your words, but have them be more than just mindful of it.
Right.
That it's a commitment that when they are in that process, they notify the city so the city can have staff on hand just to confirm that things are taken care of appropriately.
Okay. Right. Yes.
Yeah, I would agree with Mr. Spender that overall kind of being modified subgrade is preferable for a city roadway. But I just wanted to make you aware that that wasn't the only option available to the developer and remind you of the reasons why you had changed the story in the first place.
Can we address that issue first?
I'd gladly move to accept the line stabilization option or cement stabilization option as for the developer as an option on this project.
It'd be a cement stabilization.
Yeah,
Don't think we want a line stabilization.
With that commitment to keep the city involved.
Yeah. I think I voted against the cement stabilization.
I'll second that. Okay. Further discussion on that?
I was searching correctly.
Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Okay, now let's go back to the elephant in the room. And I appreciate you. I understand that you've been conferring with staff.
Oh, no,
This is where we.
yeah, this is like part 2.
Yeah. I wanted to get that one thing out.
I wasn't sure where you wanted to start.
Yeah, I just figured while they were pulling that up, easy to start with.
So Derek, go ahead and let's go back to the issues that we addressed a while back. How we fix them.
So in addition to the waiver request, we also submitted a request for the closure of Stones Crossing Road. And as Mr. St. John mentioned, there were some concerns that were expressed, primarily, providing access to Bay Horse Inn, emergency access to Bay Horse Inn and Copper Chase, and the duration of the closure. Given the intent to do a full reconstruction of the road, again, to try to provide as good of a product as we possibly can.
Derek, and the length of that closure.
The duration.
Yes.
Yes, the duration. So in an effort to try to address those concerns, we kind of revisited our maintenance and traffic plan. And in coordination with the contractor and the developer, we've kind of come up with a 2-phase maintenance of traffic and reconstruction plan for the roadway. This first plan sheet that's got the red and green highlight areas kind of represents those 2 phases. So essentially what we would do is remove the existing roadway down to subgrade and rebuild from that point up, starting with the green area in a full closure, while the red area remains open for access to Bay Horse Inn, emergency access to Copper Chase Apartments. And the maintenance of traffic plan associated with that is there's a different
Okay.
on that flash
Right.
drive.
So.
Yeah, if you open the page on it. Yeah. Thank you.
And all right, let me get this shared.
Okay. So the phase 1 MOT with the highlighted detour, which showed the detour route, which is consistent with the original plan, but the addition of a local detour with signage to Bay Horse Inn. And that's the red highlighted route. One of the other concerns I think that was expressed to us after our initial submittal for this board meeting was the proposed use of private streets for detours as public traffic. And again, in response to that, we've come up with this two-phase MOT and reconstruction plan in an effort to keep all of that traffic on Stones Crossing. We understand staff hasn't had a lot of time to review this. This all came together very quickly over the last couple of days. But hopefully, this kind of meets the board's intent and desire in minimizing or keeping the traffic on a public street while also minimizing the closure time. The duration for phase 1, which was the green area on that first plan sheet, will be a 21-day closure. So it's reduced from the original 30-day request. And then upon completion of phase 1, we would actually open the road back up. We would leave the detour signs in place to try to minimize non-local traffic using this street. And we would actually provide temporary traffic markings to get a lane shift so that east and westbound traffic can continue to cross the Galena and Stones Crossing intersection. We believe that intersection could be reconstructed in 10 days, and they would provide flagging operations for any traffic in and out of Bay Horse Inn. That would allow then local access while also opening up the road and reducing the full closure to 21 days.
So you would do the red first as well?
No, we would actually do the green first. Correct.
Have you had any dialogue with Bay Horse?
No, I think the intent is to try to ensure that we're meeting the city's requirements. We understand, as an event venue that I know I had looked on their schedule. They have their reservations kind of blocked out on their schedule, and it appears that it's pretty typical to be a Monday, Friday, Sunday reservation with some Thursday reservations. So we would try to complete the work, in that Monday through Thursday timeframe for the intersection. I think, joined by Pete Cleveland, who's with Shores Crossing Development. But I think the intent is to try to ensure that we're addressing the board's concerns, and then work with the developer to determine and ensure that we're minimizing the impacts to Bay Horse. And I would point out that I know, that they do have a physical second means of access. I know that, it is private streets and it's not, they don't technically have a easement. I would maybe assume that it does get used from time to time, but maybe on a limited basis. But with the two-phase closure, the intent here is to try to provide public access on the public street for the users at Bay Horse.
I assume most of the people in Copper Chase are going to be using that.
Yeah, Copper Chase and the Grove Stones Crossing, which is the joiner to the west that has direct access to 135, they actually have a cross-access agreement amongst those two developments. So Copper Chase actually has a legal right, means of access to 135 across the Grove Stones Crossing.
Mr. McLaughlin, do you have any insight to share with us?
Yeah, so again, this is something that I don't feel city should support. I think doing it in sections is a better way to keep it all open. We're talking about the perfect circumstances of good weather for 21 days. Everything with that, which we know highly unlikely, so we're pushing out further. I think by keeping one lane of that road open, it can still be done safely and be still completed where it doesn't have that. I still have, I believe wholeheartedly that the businesses of this locations should be, it just should be the city of Greenwood saying, we're okay with this. Because I don't look at it, if it was your business, Mr. Snyder, then I wouldn't say, hey, I'm not gonna talk to you about it. If the city's okay with it, we're gonna do whatever. I don't think that's a good way neighbors should act, and I wouldn't want it done to us. And I just, I'm not in favor of it. It's just not, I think it was pretty clear the last time. If anything else, you know, if you would choose to do it, I would ask that mandatory work Saturday and Sundays. Again, I understand the workforce of what it takes to get it. I'd also recommend that they show proof of extended hours. You know, if there's going to be a road closure like it's been, well, let's say, hey, we're going to come in here, I think we can work till 10 o'clock, is that right? You know, I get the work force may not be there, but I just don't feel this is, it's
to the point about the closure, I believe Andrew Foster with Millennium Contractors is on the call. So I don't want to speak for him, but I believe that 21-day closure included some weather delays for the typical 4 to 5 days. We're also kind of working under the assumption that the final HMA surface, top coat, and pavement markings and stone shoulder can be installed under traffic as an option to, if that, to meet that 21-day closure. In fact, the surface and striping would have to be done after both sections are completed. So again, I don't want to speak for Andrew, but if he's on it and wants to correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that's the case, and it's all that's factored into the 21 days.
Yeah, I'm on here. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, we would typically in 21 days in this time of year, July, figure 3 or 4 to 5 days of weather in that 21 days on our side of the schedule. And speaking to what you said about working extended hours, we would have no problem working Saturday. We do that typically, but Sundays are probably out of the question.
For some Bay Horse Inn, most of their business is on Friday and Saturday, Sunday.
I'm just not wild about the complete closure.
I would say that, I mean, we have talked about it, you know, thinking that there might be a commitment to say that we work around those events for Bay Horse Inn and make sure that we accommodate those. Derek alluded earlier to hit a window within that week to get most of the work down in that phase, that red area, that phase B or that phase 2 area, to where it's up to some kind of level that can allow traffic in and out for an event. Actually, I mean, I've got one of those events. My son's getting married at Bay Horse on August 6th. And I think it's probably going to be in this window. So, but I think that we would be willing, they would be willing to accept, and Andrew can speak up if not, but some kind of commitment that says that we do work with Bay Horse to make sure that there's one-way or two-way traffic in and out for all their events that they have on their calendar.
We have absolutely no problem with that. We would definitely be willing to work with them.
That would give you greater comfort, but still not all about the complete closure. What do you think, Jeffrey?
I agree.
Let's do it.
Was. I would feel more comfortable if you had the conversation with Bay Horse. You know, if we had buy-in from them that they're okay with this. That's
I mean, our focus was just to say that we are going to, whatever commitment you say that we have to accommodate them to get them in and out for their schedule, that we would abide by that. So obviously we're hoping for a resolution this evening, because if not, we're back here in another month and we lose that time of the weather that is good weather to get this done.
I could get you back here July 6th, our next meeting. I'm not sure what kind of commitment. You say, well, it's got to be more than just talk to them, but it's and I don't know that they need to.
Yeah, during phase one, they have full access in and out. That is open to them up to their drive in and out. They have full access from the west. So it's really, and that's the 21-day period. So we're really talking about the period that is the 10-day, the phase 2 period.
Yes. Yeah.
Where we're getting them, we're working around their schedule, specifically making sure that, we either don't tear it out quite when they have an event coming the next day, or we got a 3-day window or 4-day window to get it out, get stone back, or get the first layer of asphalt in to get them in for their next event.
So another way of describing all this, during the green period, the 21 days, the westbound traffic, we have closure, but they have access eastbound along Stone's Crossing. So the pinch point is the red sections, the phase 2. And I would liken this to, when there's a road reconstruction and your driveway is there, you're typically given some stone or something to smooth out the transitions to get a vehicle through every day. And I don't know why we can't commit to doing that work such that there's never a day where traffic can't get through the red area and get in there. And that would mean at the end of the day, if it's not done, we've got to put some stone in there or something to create the transitions up to the paved surface. So you're really talking about a small geographic area and a really limited period of time. Because what did we say we get that done? 10 days. And I think the developer can make a commitment to the Bay Horse Inn. There will be no point where there's just no access whatsoever at this point.
There are people there every day to work in the area.
So this would require flagman, and the contractor's got to provide the stone or whatever the temporary surface is from day to day to make sure that that happens.
Yeah, and I would just point out that even with the, even if this was one lane, one way, we're still going to have the same scenario where a portion of that intersection has to be removed and reconstructed. So we're talking the same scenario. What we tried to do is try to complete as much work as we can in the closure and allow them full access via the detour, and then minimize the work, the time frame that it takes to remove the actual intersection itself. Because frankly, with the location of the intersection, like I said, there's going to be a point in time where that has to get removed for the full reconstruction of the road.
So I like that there's going to be some sort of guarantees to Bay Horse. Number one. The one thing I'd still question, and I think Trent knows this as well, probably, when those cars that make a difference or not, when they start running on those private streets, whose phones are
Yeah, I think this plan is that they're not on the private streets. I mean, we can't stop them, but
I understand we don't, but that's the whole point. That's where I think it's largely to put out. I think the developer and people doing their job needs to make sure Bay Horse Inn, make sure the apartments and everything, because again, we'll field them and we're still going to get called. Yeah, you're right. We can't stop them, but I don't feel it's the city's behalf to go out and be that referee at that point in time because somebody didn't want to talk to it and be a good neighbor. When I look at it, if she was turned and it was somebody else, and they were shutting down Sports Crossing, I'm sure that we'd want to allude the same to Sports Crossing about, hey, is anybody talk to you about this? This is no different than what we do usually for, the band parties, when I have a block party or whatever. It's get a hold of your neighbors, let them know what's going on. And if there's a time given, I agree at that point. So I'm a little bit more confident. I still think, the weather's got me concerned. These guys are in it, they know it. And if it meets it, fine. But if not, depending upon when this work's going to be done, the school's back in. And this is another aspect of, which I'm not a fan of, that we build roads only because the school's counted, because it hurts all of us. Thank you.
So
what's your anticipated construction start date?
July 25th.
We'll be back.
I mean, school will be in place, but as Terry alluded to, we deal with that all the time. When there's detours, and the good news is that with the 3 weeks, there'll be about 2 weeks of that left. If school starts as early as it has been, which is first week of August. I don't know what the exact school.
So you're committing to full access for Bay Horse from for eastbound traffic.
They'll have two-way in and out during that 21 days.
Yeah.
To the west.
They'll be able to
go out
enter and exit from 135.
Yeah.
And then follow the detour. Someone comes off 65 and down Horseville, so it's crossing. The detour takes them north to Demery
and around. Yeah.
And we've added some signs that, to Bay Horse in with an arrow, just so that, someone that's not familiar with the area, then they have, that's where I'm going. That's where I follow these signs.
You need that because people coming for weddings and things, out of town, they're going to be confused. They're going to have some upfront directions.
Right. Having my weddings coming from California, so I hear you.
And I don't think, we would be more than happy to, if this were to be approved, to provide this exact PDF to Bay Horse to, either send to guests, submit, post it on their website, whatever needs to be done to try to, help get people where they need to go for the events. Obviously, the people that are here, every day, locals, they know their way around the venue guests are benefit from having this.
Well, I think we'll go further. They will be informed of the specific schedule we described today, and I would say the contractor can provide daily communication with Bay Horse, and particularly that 1 7-day period where the red part is being worked on, to specifically explain what's going to be going on that day and what condition will be left at the end of the workday. So the communication will be done, but it's not like if the answer is no, because we got to get the work done. All we can do is minimize the inconvenience. So, the commitment will be the full schedule will be provided to Bay Horse Inn. We will commit the contractor will make daily calls on an affirmative basis, not just receive calls. When we get to the red section, the really delicate part. And of course, the communication lines will be open.
Say that red part needs to be done like Monday through Thursday at least.
Yeah, we've advised the contractor, and they understand that would be obviously the goal to start that on a Monday and get as far as you can by Thursday evening, with the hope that if you obviously get some good weather, you can get that up to zone or HMA base to the point that, but certainly I would not foresee an issue with them getting it to stone. If they can get to base, HMA base, that would be at that point, users wouldn't even notice really that difference.
Well, I think that's a great idea. Friday be a special day. That means they got to kind of button it up by noon or something like that.
I think we would want to say that we can commit to their event schedule. Because if they don't have one on Friday, then we're not held to that. But if they have an event on Friday, then we're held to hitting the window when they don't have events and make sure it's got two-way traffic in and out outside of their events.
On Fridays and Saturdays.
Yeah, and we'll be happy. I know this just, I just sent this to Paul and Mark this afternoon. Like I said, this came together quickly, and we'd be more than happy to, talk to them. Obviously, we're not requesting a closure until July 25th. So we'd be more than happy to talk to them about the actual MOT, the technical aspects of it, the signage, the striping, to ensure that we're addressing any of their concerns before the actual closure, just so that staff doesn't, feel like they're, put on the spot to say, yeah, this looks great right now. I also make that commitment that, between now and the actual closure, we'll ensure that staff is comfortable with all the technical aspects.
So Derek, what I'm hearing is we're having a commitment that talk tossing around here is that the Bay Horse Inn is always, is never going to not have access to that intersection. Right, are we on the same page?
There could be times in that Monday to Thursday window where they shut down because they're tearing it out, and they would have to flag traffic around or do something. But outside of that, no. Like we mentioned, they might have employees that have to get in and out that will have to work with them and work with that schedule.
And frequent communication with Bay Horse Inn folks.
I think it should include the apartments as
Copper
well.
Chase property managers as well. And I understand what Mr. Cleveland said. They just can't say no. I mean, you got to tell them, but tell them delicately so that, hey, this is going to happen. So we're trying to get it as best we can for that. And they need to know the city is kind of behind them in terms of making it work.
So why don't we agree, we'll put like a 4 or 5 bullet point thing together and maybe get that to Mr. St. John to make sure we're conforming to everything that's been talked about. Kind of give it the final blessing.
I think that would be appropriate, and also Saturday working as much as can.
I think the Friday and Saturday deal, like you're talking about.
Late in the day, it's fine as well. Would be my concession to this.
Any other of those 3 items?
Well, I think there was a lot of things we talked about here tonight. I think Pete and Derek are both going to be honest and candid with us, and if we talked about it, we're going to address it in there. We appreciate the fact you've done it from our last meeting. We said no. But I'd also like to have Mark. I'd also like to have Mr. McLaughlin involved in that conversation.
Okay,
would be mine.
Yeah, and I would advise, I think this Works Crossings already had their pre-construction meeting. I'd advise we have another specific one for this roadway with your roadway contractor as well too.
Okay. Do you have a 48 hours or a minimum advance notice of that?
You need to notify to schedule a meeting or like 48 hours before the closure. I think we would want to do it well before, sometime between now and the closure.
Okay. Because they have to notify.
Just to make sure my staff is all on the same page. Yes, going on with the roadway contract.
And all the notices going out, public service.
Okay.
Jerry, are you comfortable as you can be with that kind of? So I will make that a motion, and I'll leave the burden to you, Derek, and for you, Pete, to get that with Mark and make that work. And we'll try to get this done. And failing all this, we have another meeting before July 6th. That's for the works meeting. I hope we don't have to say this here again, but if we do, we will. Okay. So that'll be my motion.
I'll second.
Further discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Motion passed. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay. Look forward to getting this done.
Thank you very much.
I'd be glad to go and talk to Amanda Mayors with you. I've known her.
Well, we'll get the commitments approved and then try to raise it.
Next, we're going to turn to Stephen Howman, All-Star Paving, 2022 annual paving project in Stop 18 Road.
Can you hear me?
Stephen, we've got you. Good evening.
Outstanding. Good evening. I'm Stephen Howman with All-Star Paving. We're currently the contractor that's performing the 2022 annual paving project. On that project, we have a full-depth road reconstruction of Kensington Park Court. It is a small cul-de-sac with only 2 homes on it. We're asking to close that road down for a period of 2 weeks, starting July 11th. With that, so this is a small cul-de-sac. We're going to rip the road completely out, stone it, and then pave our cross section on that. We will be able to keep the homeowners to their homes if needed with stone ramps in and out. This is just such a tight area that if we close the whole road down, allow homeowners to get in and out when needed, but if they could stay on the road, if possible, it would be best. We would be able to only be in here for 2 weeks as compared to 4 if we had to split the road in half.
So did I hear you say, Stephen, that if the homeowners need access, they want to try and stay off as much as they can?
Yeah, if they need to get to their home, we will have a stone ramp in and out of the road. Even if the road is completely tore out, we will still have stone on the road and stone ramps to their homes. But during the workday, obviously, when my guys are working in a tight area with excavators, skid steers, equipment moving, we would ask them to stay out of the road.
Well, my lay opinion, and that may be a problem with his understanding it, but if it's their home, there's always got to be access for emergencies, and they want to go to the grocery store. I mean,
absolutely. I'm just talking about parking on the roadway. Kids playing on the road, just to keep everything off. I mean, we'll still have access in and out with stone ramps so they can get to and from their home. We just want to close it down so we don't get anybody who's not supposed to be in there that don't belong to the two homes from driving in on us.
Mr. Hoover, the way it was explained to the engineering department is that they would remove that entire road at once, as he's requesting. That All-Star Paving would do the coordination with these two homeowners and ask them if they would be open to parking along the roadway, but that if they need to get in and out of their home to drop off groceries, or if there's emergency access needed, or I don't know who lives there, if someone's older and needs to get direct access to the road, that they will ensure that maintenance occurs between them and the homeowners. Constant, correct. I mean, there will of course be a period of time where the roadway is ripped out and it's down to dirt before they put stone back in, but yeah, minimize that period and maintain access. And certainly not leave something like that overnight or anything like that. Is that correct, Stephen?
Yes, and even when we pour the curb in front or their new driveway approach, we will still make it to where they can park right in front of their homes and be able to access their house.
And again, if he constructed this in half, there would be a period of time where each of these homes would have to do it either way. It'd just be one home at a time.
Comments?
Mr. President, so, listening to what's been described, if the board wishes to approve it, I feel if you, again, sort of hand approval based upon the city engineers and his staff, we can do the same thing with this. I think it's a lot less complicated than what the last one was. So I feel with this one, I think this is, I'm sure those two homeowners will definitely appreciate the end product.
The contractor may have to work with the homeowners. I'm thinking of trash removal or something. They may have to transport the trash out to the main.
Even on other full depth reconstructions, when we do half at a time, they'll bring the trash cans across the roadway or put up temporary mailboxes or similar things as well.
Yeah,
For something as this, it might very well be that these guys just move those every day or get their mail every day for them.
Yeah. Absolutely. My guys are willing to help carry groceries to the front door, move trash cans, anything needed.
I would move that we approve the request.
And that is subject to, again,
the public
coordination
that we discussed. Yeah.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stephen. Anyone from the audience wish to address us? Either here in the building or online? Hearing nothing. Kelsey.
The item complaints plan status update has been provided and it's also been uploaded to SharePoint.
Thank you. And your status test.
The next item I have is a consideration of amended engagement letter with Taylor, Chad, Manette, Schneider, and Clutter, PC. The original contract that was approved by this body specifically stated one attorney. That attorney has since left, so a different attorney took over. I believe 2 different attorneys took over for that work, and so this is just they've already performed the work, and we just need to pay them for that work performed.
Questions for Kelsey?
For approval. I'll second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. That's it. Thank you,
That's
Kelsey.
it for me.
Mr. Hudson.
I don't know why it's here.
City engineer status test. Mark.
Yes, the first item on here is the White Castle at the intersection of Main Street and Sheep Road. We've received a stormwater O&M manual from them, and we're asking that you authorize the mayor or deputy mayor to sign on the board's behalf the operations and maintenance manual for water quality for the White Castle site along Sheep Road.
So it's been there a long time.
They did some very minor site work out there and some work to their building side. They believe they have not yet.
Is there a motion for approval? I'll second that. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
The next item on here, the concrete item, sort of been touched on tonight already with the Schwartz Crossing development. I wanted to bring this before the board, make you aware of it too. I don't think the Schwartz Crossing development is going to be the last time we hear about this. As Mr. Schneider with Crossroad Engineers alluded to, this is probably something we're going to hear about through the end of this construction season. My understanding is there's a large cement manufacturing plant. Of course, concrete consists of cement, water, and aggregate. The cement part of it, the plant that makes it down in development here, Jeffersonville, has gone offline, and that affects cement supply in the state. There's also an issue with trucking, just getting the number of drivers and available trucking. My understanding that concrete supply companies are having trouble supplying truckers as well too. So we've heard it from the Schwartz Crossing, we've heard it from a couple of other developers, and as recently as last week, we heard it from All-Star Paving with our annual paving program as well too. So we've been put on notice by several entities, and I would assume that we'll probably have similar requests moving forward through the end of the construction season.
Seems to be much alternatives.
Not much else we can do, but yeah. And then the last item on here, the annual paving program, Stop 18 Road, discussions in regards to early stop time. This is something All-Star Paving brought before us as a proposal in an effort to make sure they can get concrete scheduled. The thought was if we can schedule concrete in off-peak times, they might have better luck getting concrete for our project, our roadway project. And so they're requesting if they could start as early as 5 a.m. to do concrete pours. And there's some concerns with that. This has a general area of our paving program up before you on the board here. Some of these occur within residential areas, so there may be some concerns with that as well too. A concrete operation is not going to be as noisy as a paving operation, but still that would be early in the morning for folks. But I wanted to present that option for you and know if you would entertain.
Our start time now is 7.
Correct. Entertain the engineering department being allowed to permit those changes with All-Star Paving on an as-needed basis.
Wow, 5 o'clock in the morning in residential areas. Gosh, I'm glad I'm not you. Getting a telephone call.
Well, concrete trucks are loud.
Yeah.
They do beep. Yeah. Yeah. You think with the paving operation, you wouldn't have the tailgate slamming at least with the triaxle, but yes, it wouldn't have noise.
6 o'clock compromise with.
Yeah, I think 5 might be a little early for a residential area. We could allow 5 in commercial areas.
And there is a section along Stop 18 at US 31. There is some residential, but it's set back a bit more, and that's a bit more commercial in that area. So there would be some commercial area work as well.
I think 6 would be better. Would that motion?
Would you, if that is your motion, would you grant special exceptions to Mark to be able to make adjustments to that as he felt necessary.
Sir.
I'll second that. Or did you have a second? I'm sorry. I'll second that. Further discussion? Now, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you. That was all I had.
Greg, anything from you? Good. Mr. President.
I would move for approval of the claims as
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Stand adjourned. Thank you all at 6:30 p.m.
Of course, another